Hello there, it's Gloria with Glory B Resale, and I'm here to do a what sold from July 13th to the 19th on eBay, Poshmark, and Etsy. And the first thing to sell over on eBay was this vintage painting on board of a church in 1982. And this sold for $28. Cost to me on it was $2. Next item to sell was this vintage mid-century wooden candle box with peaches on it, and this sold for $45.90, and the cost to me was $12. Next item to sell on eBay was this vintage paper mache puppet of a male folk art, and this sold for $25, and the cost to me on it was $1.50. Next item to sell was this Coldwater Creek Bohemian Blazer, and this sold for $20, and the cost to me on this was $3.25. Next item to sell on eBay, so it picked up a little and since the last couple weeks. I got 6 sales this week. Um, and this one was a LRL blouse, sold for $20. Nope, sold for $16, and the cost to me was $6.49. Not a very good sale. Next item to sell was this Abercrombie& and Fitch blue puffer jacket. This sold for $30, and the cost to me on it was $5.99. Over on Poshmark, the first thing to sell was this vintage Royal Copley porcelain planter. This sold for $20. Cost to me on this was $2. Next item to sell was this women's diary linen blend blouse. This sold for $15. Cost to me was $3.75. And the last thing to sell over on Poshmark, so Poshmark didn't have a very good week this week. This was a Christopher Bank yellow and white check skirt, and this was new with tags. This sold for $16, and the cost to me on it was $4.99. Over onto Etsy. First thing to sell was this vintage miniature wooden rattan rocking chair, plant holder, doll, for a doll or stuffed animal. This sold for $22, and the cost to me on it was $3.99. Next item to sell was this vintage set of 2 rustic white enamel canister, a Woodside breeder, quarter horses. They sold for $29, and the cost to me, actually, these sold for $26.10, so I'm gonna say they had a I mean, 10% coupon. So this sold for $26.10, and the cost to me was $3.48. Next item, and this woman bought the next 3 items from me. So this was a nice sale. I appreciated her. First thing to sell was this folk art, uh, hand-carved flower sign. It says 1898 to 1998. done on a large piece of wood. This is what it looked like. Just a rustic sign bound up in an old barn. So this sold for $109, and the cost to me on it was $35. Same person bought this rustic wooden shelf, and this sold for $49, and the cost to me was $2. And they also bought this pair of white wooden shelves, and these sold for $39, and the cost to me on these was $4. So that was a nice sale from one person, and I was very grateful to have it. Thank you. The next item was this vintage rooster and chicken wall plaques. This sold for $27, and the cost to me on these was $4.99. Next item to sell was this wooden rose painted, potpourri box. That's what it looked like, and this sold for $19, and the cost to me was $4. Next item to sell was this vintage faux fur vest, and this sold for $28, and the cost to me was $2.50. Next item that sold was this vintage studio pottery two-piece luminary. It was signed on the bottom, and this sold for $35. Cost me was $4. Next item to sell was this pair of seagulls that hang on the wall. These sold for $29, and the cost to me was $2. Next item was this Siamese cat figure by Linda Pleat, and this sold for $29, and the cost to me was $10. And the last item to sell on Etsy was this vintage Florentine mid-century tissue box with hinges, and this sold for $55, and the cost to me on it was $10. And that was everything that sold, and that was from July 13th to the 19th. I'm still catching up here. So there'll be more videos coming. I hope that your sales are getting better. I feel like my sales are starting to pick up now towards the end of the summer, and hopefully will continue to do so right through till Christmas or January. And but that's, mainly Etsy has been my better platform. eBay did pick up a little this week. I really don't remember how it's doing right now. I don't feel like it's been doing great though. So we'll see. I'll see along with you because I can't remember. And I will see you next time. Bye.